You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast, where you'll learn step-by-step how to meet and seduce beautiful women, whether you're looking for one night of fun, a week-long fling, or a long-term relationship. I'm your host, Trip, and the episode starts now. Hello and welcome to another episode of the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. So excited to be coming to you today with another episode from the archives. And this one is so good. This is so good. We're talking today about the 4 principles of seducing beautiful women. And I break it down here unlike I've broken it down anywhere else in the past. So you're really going to get some new information and kind of a new way of looking at seducing women. So what I'm talking about here is an old program that I used to have called How to Attract Your Perfect 10. And so that program no longer exists. At this point, that program is basically Hooked. That's my online course that you can get at getterhooked.com. And that course is now transformed into Hooked, right? The old one is transformed into Hooked. But there's still some cool stuff in there that I don't talk about in Hooked that I'm going to be putting here on this podcast. Now, if you do happen to have the Hooked program, basically what today is about is talking about tension. And tension is something I talk about in the Hooked program quite a bit. We're talking about sexual tension. And today is the 4 principles of seducing beautiful women, which is all about creating that tension. See, what you have to understand is if you're not creating that tension, okay, if you're not creating that tension, you're going to be in the friend zone, and she is not going to be able to see you as a sexual being. She's not going to be able to see you as a sexual being, and you won't have the chance. A lot of guys, they don't adhere to these 4 principles of seducing beautiful women, not because they listen to it and say no, but they just don't know of them. So because you don't know the 4 principles and you don't know these principles, what ends up happening is you don't end up creating a context with the girl that is sexual and that is saying to her that you're somewhat interested in her. You don't create that flirtatious vibe. You're not signaling to her that you are someone who could potentially be someone to have sex with or be someone to be a boyfriend or someone more than just a friend. You're not signaling that stuff. So you have to do that. You have to create that context, or else either A, you're in the friend zone, or B, nothing happens and it just becomes the no zone, right? You never hear from the girl again and there's nothing there. So you have to seduce her. Don't think of seduction as something that's evil, right? I know, like, if you look up seduction in Google, let's do it right now. Seduction, it says the act of seducing someone or tempting. See, that's actually pretty positive. But, you know, they say like seduction is a secret. Like you're doing it without them knowing. Like you're doing it without them knowing, and you're doing it in a way to persuade them. It's mind control. It's not mind control, okay? You're not going to be able to control her mind, okay? But you are going to be able to create a context in which she goes, oh, wow, I am feeling seduced. Women want to be seduced. That's the whole thing. Women want to be seduced. If not by you, by somebody, and if not by someone else, then by you, okay? So you have to create that context. And that's what this episode is all about. So I'm really excited to be sharing it with you today. And I just think you're going to be learning a lot. And I highly suggest you take notes. I like to say to you before I end up doing some of these episodes that they're note-taking episodes, because it's rich in information and rich in theories and principles and practical steps that you're going to want to take and want to use in your interactions, okay? So whatever you're using to take notes, take it. And don't forget that coaching is still available, okay? Coaching is still available to you. So if you need coaching, I suggest that you go to coachedbytrip.com and fill out an application form as soon as possible. That's because we do have a lot of applications that come in. And I will admit to you, during this time, there is a waiting list, okay? But that doesn't mean that you won't be able to do coaching with me. It just means that you and I won't necessarily start in a week or 2 weeks. It might be 3 or 4 weeks. But if you wait 3 or 4 weeks to apply, you're going to have to wait another 3 or 4 weeks, okay? So I'm not saying that to build up any scarcity or freak you out or anything. Like, no, don't worry. Like, just apply and we'll get you on the phone. I do get you on the phone as soon as possible, though, so you and I can talk about coaching. So if you do apply, you and I hop on a phone call within 24 to 48 hours, and then we discuss coaching. If we see you're a good fit and coaching is going to be good for you, then we put you into the program, okay? So it's just as simple as you filling out the application at coachedbytrip.com. So here's the thing you have to know too. is that coaching is one-on-one. A lot of guys think that they're going to be working with another coach or another coach under me. And no, I do all the coaching. It's you and me working together. It's you and me who are going to be texting each other back and forth. It's you and me who are hopping on calls every single week. It's me who's giving you the customized plan because I know what to do here. Of course, I can hire other people under me to coach you, but I just don't feel like you're going to get the best value and the best results out of it because I have been doing this for such a long time, and I want you to get the help that you need from me because you've been listening to this podcast, and you obviously, if you're applying for coaching, you connect with my principles and connect what I'm doing. And so I want to be the one there for you and helping you out. So don't worry, you're in good hands. Let me help you with any aspect going on in your dating life, whether it be approaching, talking to women, flirting with women, getting to the point where you lose your virginity, getting to the point where you have a beautiful girlfriend or at least multiple options of women that you're dating. I can help you with that. So go to coachedbytrip.com, check it out, apply today. And in the meantime, here's the 4 principles of seducing beautiful women. Welcome to Module 7 of How to Attract Your Perfect 10. And as always, I hope you did the previous homework. And if you have, that means you're in a really good place because you've done a lot of approaches and you've really pushed yourself to the next level. Now, on this module, we're going to go into talking about transitioning into flirting and seduction. So we're going to be really focused on bringing the interactions that you've been having to a more sexual level, to a more flirtatious level, and ones that will make it so you're getting numbers and the girls are actually responding to you and you're out of the friend zone, right? So that's the whole point, is to escape the friend zone by adding in more flirtatious comments and bringing things to a sexual level. So we'll show you how to transition. We'll show you all different examples of how to flirt with girls, what to say to them, prime examples that you can use literally right after you watch this module. And of course, at the end, we'll give you some more homework on how to practice this stuff. So let's begin. First, before I give all those examples that I'm sure you're really curious about, you got to understand what seduction is and why it's important. Because once you understand the primary reason why we use seduction, it's going to help a lot when you start to implement it in your interactions. So what is seduction? What is the point of it? Why do we include it when we're talking to girls? Well, first of all, seduction is the act of making a woman feel sexual, desired, and attracted. Okay? So it's the act which you're going to perform of making a woman feel sexual, desired, and attracted, okay? So sexual, you were going to make her feel like a sexual being. You're going to make her feel in her feminine, okay? And when you make a woman feel feminine, that's when you start to turn her on, right? So sexuality is the basis of seduction, but it's not everything. A lot of people think that seduction is just going sexual. It's actually a lot more to it than that. There's also the idea of her feeling desire, okay? You want her to feel desired because when a woman feels desired, she feels good about being with that man, okay? One of the main, parts of a woman's self-consciousness, what makes her feel self-conscious is hoping that she's going to be desired by a man. And I know that men feel the same thing, but it's a little bit different for men. For us, for a man, being desired by a woman, it definitely helps, but we can just get turned on and have sex without necessarily feeling desired by the woman, okay? But a woman needs to feel that desire. And if she doesn't feel that desire, then you're not seducing her. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to make her feel desired in this module. And then, of course, you're going to make her feel, you're going to get her attracted. You're going to get her attracted to you. You're going to make her feel attraction. And again, I'm going to teach you how to do that with some great lines that you can use, some done-for-you lines that's going to attract her and make her feel really good, okay? So let's start with sexual. Okay, so what's this all about? What's sexual all about? Well, sexual is going to be done by touch, which we're going to go over in the next module, but we'll start with touch, right? You want to make her feel horny. You want to turn her on. And the way to do that is going to be through the way that you physically touch her. Okay, so that's how you're going to make her feel sexual. Like I said, you're going to bring out her femininity, right? And that's going to be done by the way you touch her and the things you say to her and the idea of making her, when she feels desired, she's going to feel in her feminine, okay? And that's what's going to make her attracted. And then some sexual techniques in terms of seduction are dominance, eye contact, and taking control. So those are very masculine qualities. And when you use your masculine qualities with her, she's going to feel feminine. Is this all connecting a little bit? So dominance is being the one who is taking control, which I said here also, right? Dominance is the one who's making decisions, who's, the one who's first to act. Okay, that's why you're going to be doing all these moves first. We're not going to wait for a woman to seduce you. We're not going to wait for a woman to approach you. No, you're going to be the one taking control and being in the dominant position and leading her all the way through this interaction. So you're going to lead her through the approach, through the conversation, and now you're going to be leading her through this idea of seduction. And you're going to use eye contact as well. Eye contact is a great tool to, like I've said earlier, build that bubble around you two, but also that's a great way to show dominance on a woman by giving her very seductive gaze, right? Like I said, smiling with your eyes, which I talked about a few modules ago, smiling with your eyes, giving her deep eye contact that's going to turn her on and make her feel sexual and bring her to her feminine, okay? And then desired. Let's go deeper into this. We're going to use verbal intent. I'm going to show you some things that you're going to say to her that is going to show your intentions. So that's what I mean by intent. I mean your intentions. And you're going to actually say your intentions. You're going to tell her that you're interested in her. Not in necessarily that way, but in some specific ways, which we'll go over. Okay, that's going to make her feel desired. All right, so some examples of that will be compliments and flirting. And at the end of the day, compliments pretty much is flirting. But flirting is also comprised of teasing and touching as well, which will make her feel desired, okay? And your body language. So I'm going to show you some things that you're going to do with your body language that's going to make her feel desired. It's about moving closer to her. It's about the way you position your body when you're with her, and I'll show you that as well and how to do that. And then attracted. So let's go deeper into what that means, attracted, right? So this is kind of what we've already been learning in terms of conversation, right? Knowing how to talk about yourself and being interesting, right? That's going to get her attracted to you when you are able to verbalize that you're a confident, interesting, fun, spontaneous, confident, I already said that, dominant guy, okay? So that's going to make her feel attracted, right? Confidence, like I've said 3 times already, right? Bringing the confidence is going to make her feel attracted. Just you being a confident man, that's enough to make her attracted, right? And confidence is going to be shown through what? It's going to be shown through, like I've said before, your body language, comfortably talking to her, being able to tell stories and being able to show verbal intent and flirting that you're going to be learning soon. Okay, and being able to take control of the situation without being nervous. Now, you might feel nervous inside of your body, but you can easily cover that up with a really solid body language. Okay, and that's one of the coolest parts about it, is that you can kind of fake it a little bit until you make it. And then, of course, things we've talked about before, passion, showing her your passion for life, passion for the things that you do, showing your passion toward her. Again, we'll be talking about that very soon. Showing your vulnerability. Remember that? We went over that in the last module. Okay, showing your vulnerable side. Not necessarily being Mr. Tough Guy, but showing some emotion, which is going to make her feel connected to you, therefore attracted to you. And then emotional tension, right? So we've sort of talked about emotional tension. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more here with some of the flirting techniques, but emotional tension is, which you've already learned, is done through how you're going to be talking to her, right? You're bringing the conversation to emotional levels, right? You're going to be spiking little areas of emotions by asking her how she feels about something, asking her the whys, not the whats, getting away from the facts and asking her more questions about her feelings and emotions towards the stuff that you're talking about, whatever it is. Whatever you're talking about, doesn't matter. Okay. So before I go into some of the examples, you need to understand the 4 principles of seduction as well. There are 4 principles that I've created, that I've found over the years, have been the principles that you want to really follow when you are seducing a girl, okay? And this is going to help you tremendously in becoming a master seducer. As long as you follow all 4 of these principles, everything else is a piece of cake. Okay, let's go into them one by one. Principle number 1. I am a sexual being. You'll see how I put that in quotes, because that's what I want you to say to yourself. Again, almost as a mantra, coming back to some of the earlier principles of success. They're mantras, right? So I am a sexual being. This is what you need to tell yourself. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, first of all, it means I desire women. Okay. Now, you're probably thinking, no shit, Trip. Of course I desire women. Of course I'm a sexual being. Well, here's the thing. Most guys, they actually don't remember this. They think almost at times that they're at fault for being a sexual being. I want you to understand that you're a sexual being and you don't need to apologize for that. It's okay that you desire women and that you want a woman. And so when you're in an interaction with a woman, I want you to remember how much you desire her, how much you want her, okay? And of course, there's a fine line between all this stuff. Everything is consensual. I do not want you to force yourself on a woman, okay? Everything has to be consensual, meaning that she has to consent to it and she has to say yes to it. If she's uncomfortable by any means, you stop, okay? But in order to even start, what you need to start being sexual with a woman, you need to understand that you are a sexual being, do not apologize for it, and that you do desire women and you want her. I want you to feel the sexuality. I want you to actually feel the horniness inside of you. When you're talking to a girl, don't hold back. If you can kind of let that emerge from you and don't let it just like curl up into a little scary ball inside of you, it's going to be easier for you to go through with some of these touching moves and some of these things I'll be telling you, okay? You want to let her know that you desire her in a very specific way, which we'll go over, but you want to do that, and I'm giving you the permission to do it because that's what's going to get her turned on. That's what's going to seduce her, okay? It's okay to feel attraction. Go with it, all right? Feel that attraction, feel that pull that you get from the girl, right? That's one of the things that's helped me in the past be able to be more touchy and more sexual with the girl, is that I feel that pull and I don't stop myself. I go with it. Women want to be seduced. They want to be desired. They want to be touched. The only difference is they don't want that from a guy that's not confident, that doesn't have his act together, that doesn't have, good style, that doesn't have self-esteem, all those great things we went over in the first couple of modules. If you have those things and if you've been working on those things, then she does want this attraction and sexuality with you, okay? Principle number 2, I am touchy-feely. Interesting. Touchy-feely usually has a negative connotation to it, but here I'm putting it in one of the main principles. Why? I've noticed that all my life, I've been more of a touchy-feely kind of guy.
And when I say touchy-feely, I just literally mean like I feel comfortable touching people, okay? I feel comfortable being able to hug a woman who I've met for a couple minutes. I have no problem putting my arm around a guy who I'm having a good time with, right? I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with my sexuality and the fact that I don't have a problem or I'm not scared to touch people. Now, when I started learning this stuff, I was, okay? And I had to bring that touchy-feely part back into all the practice that I did when I did all the approaches and all the times that I went out. And so I want to teach you this principle to turn you into a touchy-feely person, okay? Now, the only difference between a bad touchy-feely person and a good touchy-feely person is the person who is bad touchy-feely, like a girl might say like, oh, he was so touchy-feely. That means that that guy was not able to read the signs that the girl was interested or not interested, which don't worry, we're also going to go over so you know whether to stop or start, okay? Or I should say stop or continue being touchy-feely, okay? So how are you going to do this? Get used to touching people, okay? When we go over some of the touching moves, I want you to start practicing them hardcore. Practice them as much as you can. Get used to touching people. I'm not saying that you have to like grope men. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, you don't have to touch men at all. I mean, it might not be a bad idea to give some of your buddies high fives every once in a while. But either way, really, we're talking about attracting women here. So get used to touching women. Get used to giving them high fives, giving them hugs. You know, even if if you have any girlfriends, you know, people like that. But get used to touching people so it's not so uncomfortable for you, because it's uncomfortable for most guys. It might be very uncomfortable for you to start touching people. Well, what do you do when something's uncomfortable? You got to do it, right? Approaching probably was uncomfortable for you, but then you started approaching and now it's a little bit better. It's the same thing. Okay, touching is a skill in its own. Okay, and you'll get comfortable over time. It's just going to take a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time for you to push through it and practice it. No problem there. And like I said, be careful with it. You're going to have to read the signs to whether a girl is okay with you continuing to touch her or she kind of is giving you signs that she wants you to stop. And again, we'll go over those so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Principle number 3, elicit desire and emotion. Okay, that's the principle number 3 of seduction. You need to elicit desire and emotion when you're seducing a woman, okay? Seduction is not logical, it's emotional. That's all seduction is. Seduction is emotion and not logic, okay? Yes, I will be giving you logical steps, but that's different. I'm giving you logical steps to perform seduction on a woman, but seduction's all emotional, okay? It's all about, eliciting a response from her, an emotional response, a sexual response. And you have to remember that, okay? Women want to be desired. So I'm bringing this idea back again, part of the principle. They want to be desired. And when connected to the idea that it's not logical is that, for example, like a woman might meet a man, right? A woman meets man. And let's just make a more of a specific example, okay? Jane meets Bob. Bob is bald. He's fat. He dresses okay. He's got some sort of style, but he doesn't have that great job. Maybe he makes $30,000 a year. And on paper, it's just shit, right? He's shit to most women. A woman would see like, oh, okay. So he's like, doesn't have a good job. He lives at home, right? All these things. And logically, a woman might say, nope, this is not the guy for me. But when Bob meets Jane in person and uses some flirting techniques and seduction techniques, she's going to start to feel attracted. She's going to start to get on an emotional level. And even though Bob doesn't have everything on paper that Jane might want, she's still attracted to him. And it doesn't make logical sense because it's all emotional. He's able to elicit desire and emotion from her by using some of these moves. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense here. It's powerful stuff, okay? That's what it is. It's an emotional trance, right? Seducing a woman, putting her in an emotional trance. Now, of course, that doesn't mean like you're casting a spell on her, but you kind of are in like a very light way, like a very minimal way. You are kind of putting her in this like seductive trance because you're making her feel all these wild emotions at once, and that can really, put a girl into this kind of specific zone that just turns her on and makes her feel horny. And if you're thinking like, well, I still don't get it, Trip, like, what does that look like? Well, let me just give you, again, we haven't really talked about some of the examples of seduction, but let me just give you an idea right now. Just imagine you meet a girl and you walk over to her with confidence and you go over to her and, you give her, let's say she's with a group of girls and you give them a line, hey, you girls are cool. I had to come over and say hi. And you're dressed really well and you look really good and you smell good and your breath is good. And you look all the women in the eye and give great eye contact and then deliver your line with a very warm tonality. And then you're able to start a conversation with them seamlessly and use word extraction to converse with them and get on a personal level and get them to tell stories and you tell stories. You're already putting them in an emotional trance. You're already starting to get them to be sucked into you. You're putting on the you show, okay? You're putting on the you show that's getting them sucked into what you're saying. And you're getting them interested in you and you're telling, again, more stories and you're talking about random topics. And then you're able to slowly kind of maneuver your way over to the woman in the group that you are attracted to, and you start to get on a deeper level with her and you get to know her a little bit more and you become a little bit more vulnerable and say some things about you, maybe from your past or from your childhood, and tell her how you felt in certain stories when you maybe traveled or when you started a new job, and you tell her about your passions, right? So these are all the things that you're going to do. She's starting to get in this emotional trance, and what's really going to tie it all together is now going into this point where we're going to seduce her with your words at a flirtatious level and touch. Okay, this is the last principle, which, I realized is so important I couldn't leave out. It's nice to have like 3 principles on everything because 3 is a nice little number, but this one was just so crucial. It couldn't be left out. It's a really big part of what seduction is and how it's going to work better for you. So I want you to practice non-judgment. I can't have you being judgmental on any woman you ever meet. I mean, you shouldn't be judgmental on anyone you ever meet, beyond women. That's just a better way to live your life. But the second you run any judgments on her, judgment is like, okay, remember I said earlier in one of the other modules about an aphrodisiac? That's like something that makes a girl turned on and gets her horny. Judgment is like the opposite of an aphrodisiac. It kills all horniness, okay? So your judgments will make her reserved. So if you look at her in a judgmental way, if you say anything of judgment, like anything in conversation that just shows any kind of judgment on her, like, oh, like you're saying like, oh, well, why would you do that? Like, why would you work in that kind of job or whatever it is, and again, judgment is also, being judgmental if she's talked about her sexual past or other guys that she's been with, right? You got to be open-minded and non-judgmental so she feels comfortable with you. When you show non-judgment with a woman, she'll open up to you in more ways than you could ever imagine, verbally and sexually, okay? So here we're talking about an aphrodisiac again. What is the aphrodisiac? The freedom to be is the ultimate aphrodisiac, and that actually works for men too. Okay, this is something that I've really realized. The freedom to be you and be yourself without people judging you, right? So like imagine just walking into a room, not caring what people think, and talking about the things you want to talk about and having the interests that you want to have, whatever it is, and liking the things you want to like and being the way you want to be without being judged. That freedom right there is the ultimate aphrodisiac. Okay? That is what's going to turn her on, when you can be open-minded with her and show interest in her and anything she says and anything she talks about. Okay? So let's go into transitioning into seduction. So now I'm going to give you some more steps on how to actually get into the seductive mode once you've been talking to her for a little bit and once you've been opening up the lines of verbal communication. So what is the transition? What does that mean? What does that look like? It's simply going from the get to know you stage, right? Get to know you, meaning you're just kind of talking to them and getting to know them on just any kind of basic level, into the point where you're saying to them verbally and non-verbally that I'm interested in you sexually. Okay? Most guys enter the friend zone because they don't do this transition. They don't transition from, hey, we're talking and we're having a good time and we're friendly and yay, this is so much fun, okay, into I'm interested in you sexually. The woman who doesn't feel seduced and the woman who feels confused on whether or not the man she's talking to is interested in them sexually, that's the woman who will say, oh, I guess this guy is not into me. And then she'll put him in the friend zone. Okay, so that's where the friend zone happens. Okay, when the girl ends up saying, okay, this guy is not turning me on. He's not making me feel feminine or sexual. He's more of a friend. I'm just going to treat him like a friend. Okay, so this is the transition that we need to have you make. And I'm going to show you how to do it. How do we do that? Something I call pepper flirting. Okay? So you're just going to kind of pepper flirting in. Okay? You're just going to kind of sprinkle it in, pepper it in a little bit throughout the conversation that I've already taught you to have, and I taught you what to talk about in conversation. We're just going to throw some flirts in there. Okay? And that's going to look like this. On a broad scale, that's going to look like showing deep interest, okay, that you're interested in her and you're showing it like it's deep interest is basically being very overt and very clear that you're interested in her, right? That's done with a compliment. That's also done with touching. And then into intent, which is basically telling her again that you're interested, and then asking her out. Asking her out is actually a form of seduction because you're showing interest in her. Problem is guys will go from just normal conversation, and maybe the conversation's super interesting, but there's no deep interest, compliments, touching, or intent, and they ask her out, and she either says no or she says yes because she feels bad, and then you text the girl, you never hear from her again. Okay, so those are the things that you need to do in order to start seducing her, okay? Pepper flirting. Okay, there's also this concept called the big push that I want to go over. Okay, so I talked to you about peppering some of the flirts in, and don't worry, we'll go over all the flirting and what to say and all that, but just bear with me here, okay? It's better to understand the broad concept, and then we'll dig in further to the prime examples, but hear out the theory for a second, okay? Once you know she's attracted to you, okay, and I'll show you signs of that later, right? I mean, you might already kind of know when a girl's sort of interested in you. Once she's attracted, what you're going to do is you're going to pepper more frequently, okay? Meaning you're going to show more, you're going to do more touching, more intent, more compliments. You're going to throw that in more once she's attracted. I call that the big push because you're really pushing it strong. Okay, most guys are too scared to do this too, but that's the best part about this. This is the most fun part, is that once she's into you, you can do this. This is how one-night stands happen. Okay, this is pretty much the formula for one-night stands. Once you can get her attracted and you can keep pushing and pushing in terms of touching her more, getting more physical with her, saying more seductive language to her, and then eventually you can just take her home and you guys can have an amazing night of sex. Or you can just get her number and guarantee that she's going to want to go on a date with you and see you again, okay? Because you have created the big push, okay? I want you to be confident in your actions. One of the reasons why guys don't do this is because they're so scared of rejection. But I told you, rejection's good. Trust me when I say this. You'd rather get rejected. Okay, you'd rather get rejected and try some of these moves than play it, quote unquote, safe, not flirt at all, get her number, and then realize you're just going to get a rejection anyways. Trust me. Okay, but if you do this right and you attract her right, you won't get rejected. But be confident in your actions, okay? Man up, as they say. Okay, and then calibration, which is pretty much what I just talked about. Calibration, to calibrate, means to understand in the interaction how she's feeling, empathizing, understanding where she's at in the interaction, if she's feeling it. If she's feeling attracted, if you can notice that, if you can know kind of where she's at, it's going to be easy for you to do the big push. You just got to do it. You just got to be able to do it. Again, the big push is touching her more, flirting with her more, saying sexual things to her. Okay, so there's some no-nos and warnings because we are talking about some intense stuff here. Very controversial stuff. And I want you guys on the right path here. And I don't want you to have any screw-ups. So what you don't do not buy her love, do not buy her attention, i.e. drinks, right? So like buying her a drink. That's not seduction. We're not going to buy her love. Maybe, again, getting her dinner on the first night or paying for a date, that's different. Okay, so I'll be telling you later on in these modules that you're going to have to take her on a date and actually pay for it. But just remember that that's not the same thing, okay? I'm talking about the initial interaction. Don't buy her love. Bragging, okay? Bragging is not going to turn her on, okay? That's going to turn her off. Basically, right now we're talking about turn-offs, okay? And then give in to her, aka pussy whip. You ever hear that? Where you kind of just do whatever she says and it's kind of up to her, to take control and whatever she wants and whatever, and you'll agree with everything she says and kind of get back into that nice guy role. Nope. That is not going to seduce her. And like I said earlier, pushing too far, no means no. If she feels uncomfortable, if she pushes you away, if she says stop, if she shows any signs of stop or she feels uncomfortable, then you stop. Okay? Stop automatically.